What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is part of a series where I focus on Academy Award Best Picture nominees from a certain year. Done such years in the past, such as 2000 all the way to 2019. And you guessed it, you clicked on this video, so you know it. This time around, I'm focusing on the 2020 Academy Award Best Picture nominees and ranking them from worst to best. Now, because of preferential voting, as well as from 2009 onwards, they had it where there was a possibility of up to 10 Best Picture nominees. This was the year where there was 8 Academy Award Best Picture nominees. Trust me, I wish that there was 10 because I just find it weird. Why would you have it where there's the possibility of there being 10, but you don't fill in all 10 slots? It's annoying, but it is what it is. But yeah, so I will be ranking this from 8 being the worst to 1 being the best, and of course, my humble opinion. Guys, let me know your guys' thoughts in terms of the ranking of these films. Like, I want to hear your guys' ranking down below. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off at number 8, we have The Trial of the Chicago 7. This is a very, very, very okay movie. It's not bad. It's very well acted. It's got some sharpness to the script, but overall, I just found it to be kind of like, Like, the themes and messages, it has a heart in the right place for sure, but honestly, it didn't really feel genuine. Like, it's a film that, again, it has its heart in the right place, but the actual execution left a lot to be desired. Not a big fan of this movie, but I do give it like a passive rating because, again, I can see why some people might like it, but for me, it's whatever, and that's why it's my number 8. Next up, my number 7 is Sound of Metal. This is a film with an excellent sound design, a great lead performance. I respect this film, I do. I can see why a lot of people dig this film, but for me, despite liking it to an extent, I just haven't really had the urge to revisit this film. I haven't. I don't know. Again, I appreciate and respect the story beats that it's focusing on, especially bringing to light something that we don't really see too often in films, which is what I liked about this film, the fact that it was tackling that. But the pacing, the rewatchability value, it kind of, I guess, makes it a little bit lower on this list. And that's why I have it at, of course, my number 7. But again, I can definitely see why some people might have this even higher. I have some friends that have it like higher, and it's a good movie, and that's why it's my number 7. Next up, my number 6 is Mank, which truthfully, Mank is, in my opinion, one of the least good David Fincher films. Like, it's one of those things where David Fincher, like, he's my favorite director as the filming of this video. And he is someone that makes, like, great to masterpieces in my eyes. Like, Alien 3 was the only one where I'm like, not a fan of. Mank, I like, but it's one of those things where I more respect the filmmaking than actually say, I love this film. Like, I don't. I like it, and I think it could be looked at as, like, a good companion piece to watching with Citizen Kane. But I do think that there are some pacing issues with this film, kind of like Sound of Metal. But the thing that I liked about this film quite a bit was all the filmmaking. Like, the filmmaking, I just was taken aback by how great everything looked. The production design, the score, the acting. Gary Oldman does a great job. There's a lot to appreciate about this film. But again, there are certain elements that could have been a little bit tighter, and there's more of I feel like themes and messages that could have been tackled a bit more to maybe make this a more stick to your ribs kind of film. But as it stands, it's good, not great. And that's why it's my number 6. Next up, my number 5 is Minari. This is a very feel-good type movie. I liked it. I found it to be very inspirational. It's a A24 produced film that is really well crafted, great lead performance, and I don't really have too much more to say. I liked it a bit. That's why it's my number 5. Next up, my number 4. This is the one that won Best Picture, and my number 4 is Nomadland. Nomadland, I think, coming out, several months after we, were thrown into a pandemic, I thought was very fitting because Nomadland is all about people that are trying to live, off the land, living by themselves and everything. And I thought that it's a really good slice of life film. I really liked the way it was shot. I loved Frances McDormand's performance. Honestly, this film watching it got me really pumped for Eternals, despite not liking Eternals when it came out, because I thought Chloe Zhao's directing felt effortless. It was so well done. She did a great job with this film. And that's why it's my number 4. Next up, my number 3 is Judas and the Black Messiah, a thrilling, based on true story film that also is very hard-hitting. It's gritty. It's really well acted. I love Lakeith Stanfield's performance. He did such a great job. This is one of those films that I definitely want to revisit because it is so good. If you haven't seen already, I would highly urge you to do so because, like I said, it's really good. And yeah, that's why it's my number 3. Next up, my number 2, not going to lie, this was originally my number 1. But upon doing this list, I decided to say screw it, in terms of watching this film a second time and watching my number 1 a second time. Made me realize that what was my number 1 is now my number 2. My number 2 is Promising Young Woman. Look, I liked it a lot the second time, but I didn't like it quite as much. I do kind of still think that the last 5 minutes could have been more hard-hitting instead of kind of being more like audience-friendly. I get why they did that, I do, but I think that it would have been more hard-hitting and more like, oh my goodness, like, this is tragic and sad. I thought that they went for it, but then they didn't fully, and I think that that's kind of what made it a bit more muted for me personally, at least on rewatching especially. But I still really like this. Carey Mulligan did a great job, and yeah, that's why it's my number 2. Next up, my number 1. This was the one that was the number 2, but now it's my number 1 and is my favorite film of 2020. My number 1 is The Father. This is a film that stars Anthony Hopkins, one of my favorite actors, Olivia Colman. It is a film that is dealing with dementia, and we follow the lead character who has dementia, and the editing and the storytelling is framed so that way we as audience members are in the mindset of this lead character. So as you can imagine, it's very confusing at times, such is the case of the lead character with what he's going through. And honestly, it makes it more tragic. It makes it more raw, and that's something that I really appreciate about this film. And the ending, it's so heartbreaking. Honestly, it makes you almost want to cry. I've been itching to revisit this film, honestly. Like, I've seen it twice, but I own it. It's the only one from 2020 that came out in terms of the Best Picture nominees that I own. I mean, that should tell you something. I think The Father is a great film, and it definitely holds up in rewatchability value. But I feel like other people might not rewatch it because, again, it is a very sad film and it is hard-hitting, but it's a necessity. I feel like everyone needs to watch The Father at least once. And yeah, it's my number 1. It's my number 1. But guys, that's my ranking for the 2020 Academy Award Best Picture nominees. Let me know your ranking down below in the comment section. Guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Subscription, notification bell, follow me down Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.